So welcome everyone. This is the Chestnut Review Volume 4, Issue 3 launch party for winter 2023. Due to the vagaries of the calendar, our issue launched last week, but we always have the launch party on the Saturday after the issue launches, which is good because James and I were actually in Mexico doing our first Chestnut Review retreat, and we were extremely busy for various exciting and also logistical reasons. So thank you so much for sharing the space and for sending in your work, for going through this process of publication, and for coming here to celebrate your work today. So I'm super thrilled to have all of you here. We're going to read in order. So I'm going to call on your name and I'm going to link your piece in the chat. And I believe that the first piece is just like her, but selling pharmaceuticals by Connor.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. And I just want to thank everyone, Nadia, Brooke. You guys have made this piece so much tighter and more. And yeah, the whole process with you guys has been excellent. Thank you for the good work and I'll get to it. So just like her, but selling pharmaceuticals. On set, it's never easy to concentrate. On set, with all the lights and cameras and makeup and costumes and props and art and fellow talent. Talent, that word always makes me snicker. But then through the trailer mirror, I spot the actress who is playing my sister and boom, I'm floored because she is beautiful. Not because she's beautiful, she is. Not because she's famous, she isn't. But because she is a dead ringer for my lover who died 3 years ago today. On set, same face, a decade ago we met. The same long forehead with the concentration vein running down the symmetry of the same nose, almost flat at the eyes, a cutie upturn at the tip, same chiseled jaw jutting past succulent strong lips, can't help but stare side-eyed, scrolling madly through the inner hard drive. Her laughter at the hairdresser's crack echoes around a sealed off for safety gold mine. On set, the first and second scenes flit by in a blur. Must have nailed my lines. What lines? ProCare provides outstanding customer care and convenient home delivery for the mailing of prescription medication and medical supplies to qualified patients with diabetes and chronic illnesses. What marks? Tape on the floor. What are marks and lines but emotional milestones and what stones? Because the director says nothing but good job, guys, good job. At lunch, we sit beside each other, trade Instagram accounts. I call up an old photo, smiling, happy, embracing post-show. My lover in a flamenco dress, all long-haired and tanned and healthy. I hold the phone over her corn and beans and sparkling water and say, you know, you look exactly like someone I used to still love. On set, does love end at death? I don't ask. Doesn't she look like you? Yeah, she does, a lot. Who is it? She's dead. We almost married. Oh, I'm so sorry. Forgive me if I stare. I'm not a creep. I do look like her. You're her resurrection. I can't stop looking. Sorry if that's freaky. It is freaky. I'll try not to stare, and if I act weird, it's that not you, just me, her, you, sorry. What happened? Ovarian cancer, 3 weeks. Wasn't even fully diagnosed. Stare away. On set, I do all the time wondering how what I said makes her feel and having no idea. On set, I try to imagine not to imagine. I try to use the past tense. The present tense feels unfaithful. Our future tense has passed away. I try to use my empathy muscles, but they're chest moves just out of mental reach. On set, I don't know if my lover still feels and is watching and laughing and even put this coincidence herself in my path to help me remember. On set, memories are gorgeous tools, as much as us, this actress, this set house, this set family. We play the story, are paid to deliver, ready, sound, set, rolling, action. On set, we have a scene where we must hug. Not a dramatic moment, just a normal, good to see you, sis. The director, with technical motives, asks for more than 11 takes. Each hug brings us closer and closer to a finished past. a place rarely captured properly on screen. Each hug gets longer and longer until I'm holding on to I don't know what. Each hug sells the pharmaceuticals better and better. Home delivery for the mailing of prescription medication and medication supplied to qualified patients with diabetes and chronic illness until the actress playing my sister whispers secretly in my ear, I don't mind. I feel what you're doing. You're doing fine, but let's keep this professional. Thanks.
Oh my God, David, such a great last line. Right. And such a vivid reading. Yeah, I agree. Yes, I forgot to
My
mention.
friend Nobu did a really good job. If you listen to the recording, he's a pro.
Oh, really? Well, that's great too. So you can listen to a different interpretation. Yeah, so feel free to pump up stuff in the chat. Thank you so much for kind of jumping in. So next we have a poem that I really love. It's called No Context Autoimmune Disorder by Allison Flynn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I really appreciate the process where I got to work with you, Maria, to just really tighten up the entire poem. Yeah, I love it too. Okay. No context autoimmune disorder. The night a bottle of $3 hand wash tries to take me out, I soft letterboxed in 2 words for the first time. I remember my answer. Aviator Robuchon. It wasn't the official solution, probably because I used O too many times. But it did conjure up an amusing visual of a piloting cheese in shades. Across the A&E, an agitated man under the influence shoves a chair at an orderly, and 8 security officers charge in. 8? One has Nyan Cat as his ringtone in the year 2022. I give the doctor too much information she doesn't need, and tell the nurse administering the antihistamine jab I'm weird about needles. She asks if that means I will scream, and I say only if she doesn't swab me properly pre-injection. On the way home, an otter from a nearby park crosses the road. I miss it because my eyes are closed. Surviving sea salt-scented attempted murder is exhausting.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that last line. Sea salt to murder. All right. So next is the fiction winner of our Stubborn Writers Contest. And I was really pleased to work with her on her piece, which is called Fish Mother. This one's a longer piece, so please go off and read the full thing if you can, because it's just amazing. So I'm introducing Natalie Harris Spencer.
Thanks so much, Maria. Thanks everyone for having me. Thanks for publishing my piece and choosing me as the winner. I was shocked and humbled and surprised. I was only going to read the first part. You want me to read everything? It's a lot.
No, just the first part's fine. Thank you.
Okay. I'll read and then stop and then tell me if you want me to carry on. Fish Mother. I killed the biggest koi within 2 days of moving into the crooked house. I know it's dead because it's lying on its side like an offering, one globular eye stretched taut, gazing up. The remaining koi and Orf family sink to the bottom and stay there for 3 days, like they're in mourning. The fish come with the house, a package deal, the pushy realtor tells us. I like the American house, its suburban location, my husband's inheritance allowing us more square footage than we ever would have believed possible, even though it looks like it's leaning slightly to the left. Is it just me or is it crooked? I ask. It's just you. I really wish it didn't have that koi pond. A pond is a lot of work, I say. Are you sure we're up to it? We are, my husband assures me, kissing the bone above my eyebrow. We're ready. It's time. These things come in the customary order. 1, get married. 2, buy a house. 3, settle down. This is what we signed up for, isn't it? Weren't we both in on it, the spousal pact? Who can argue it now? I picture the fat, dead fish, J. Edgar, as I'm lying on the OB bed, the paper-thin salmon gown split open at the front, a disposable sheet on my lap for modesty, feet balancing in hospital stirrups. Are you 100% sure you want your IUD removed today, she asks. We can always pop in another. 5 to 7 years of no periods, no babies, no responsibilities. Thank you, Marina. Pop in another? It would be my third. Can we keep kicking the inevitable can down the road? Is anyone ever 100%? I joke, but she doesn't smile. Probability isn't funny. Yes, I confirm. Yes, I'm sure. My poor J. Edgar, thick and fleshy, dead by overindulgence, by my hand. I sprinkled one too many orange pyramid crackers and he hoovered them all, the greedy imp. I told my husband we didn't know how to look after koi, that this was a terrible idea, that we should have sold them on eBay. J. Edgar, his belly bobbing, unresponsive to the prods from the fishing net stick. Pre, what are you doing? He's dead. You overfed him. Did I? Is all I can manage. Did I? Oh, Jay. I fish him out, slop him onto the deck and wrestle him into a garbage bag for the next morning's collection, tears hurtling down my cheeks. He didn't deserve to die like this. Who am I kidding? I can't even look after a basic houseplant. I consistently overwater, saturating the soil until it turns a blue-black. The aloe vera plant is only supposed to be watered once a month, its prickly sage leaves more than capable of flourishing on the windowsill, but I can't help myself. Water flows. I'm a homeowner now. There's much to be done. I'm sorry, Priyanka, says the OB in a serious sort of way. I'm afraid I can't see the strings. It's likely they've curled up inside you. Are you okay just waiting there for a minute? I need to get up into your uterus. Let me see if I can find a thin instrument. Hold, please. Am I okay? My legs are butterflied. Inside me, vanishing strings like a magic trick. Ta-da! I hold, please. The coil has been inside me for so long that it's become a part of me. It's a long-standing comfort between my husband and me. No babies, no periods. What a joy to have this plasticky T-shaped friend stuck up in there, lodged in, keeping us both safe. What pure joy to not have to rely on other, more awkward forms of contraception. Cheers to you, Marina. You've been a champ. She's back. Here we go, she soothes. Just breathe. The pain is electric and precise. Panic seizes. I lick my lips. My lipstick is cold and grainy under my tongue. I tap my fingers, playing a soundless piano on the top of my gown. Breathe, breathe. There we go. Gotcha, she exclaims, like she's won a soft plush toy from a carnival claw machine, and she's showing it to me, its presence eerie and unreal. There, it's out, banished from my body, the 2 strings dangling in afterthought. On one arm, watery blood clings. Before I can conjure up a suitable goodbye, it is gone. That was a stubborn one, she tuts. She shows me the length of the instrument, how it curves ever so slightly at one end, the contraption pinching. I regard it in disbelief. The things we women go through. You're all set. Just remember to keep taking your prenatals. Book a follow-up if you don't have a period in 2 months. Good luck. And I'm fumbling into my clothes, the cramps alien, my body bending and reacting to the invasion. And all I can think is, this is it. We're doing this. It's all over. It's on.
Oh, Natalie, thank you so much. That was fantastic. Yeah, so you guys have the link. It's on our site. When you have time, please go run down the rest of it because it's such a great story. Yeah, that was such a good reading. So evocative. Even a good luck. That just like something. That was great. Thank you so much. All right, so next we have a poem that I really think is just straight fire, which is A Chronically Unhealthy Healthcare System by Rick Bromley.
Hey. This is probably my favorite poem that I have ever written. So I am very excited to have had it accepted at the prestigious Chestnut Review. I was pretty excited when I got that acceptance in my email, but yes, thank you very, very much for this opportunity. This is a poem that's pretty near and dear to me. Sorry. A chronically unhealthy healthcare system. From years of gluttony and bloat and eating itself from the inside, gains weight in all the wrong places. While the organs scream for nutrients, but are starved into submission and told they have enough to survive. The mouth spouts out grand promises and spreads them thin over bare bones of skeleton crews hidden behind policies. Until their lips service dries and cracks, and the consequences bleed out and finally show their teeth.
Thank you so much, Renee. That was great reading. Yeah, I feel like this is a poem you can read over and over again. But yeah, that last line is just great. Thank you so much. So I think to continue our theme of these critiquing takedowns, we've got Recycling Died Like Santa and God and the United States of America by Katie Campbell.
Hey all, thanks Maria. It's been a really interesting process, and I'm so appreciative of your work editing. And it's been great hearing everyone else's voices. So here we go. Recycling died like Santa and God and the United States of America. A lifetime of plastic bottles and the notes I'd left, all in the Pacific garbage patch. A triangle of patriarchal green. The arrow's a circle jerk. My love letter to the earth, laughed at. Santa's a kind of consumer god drinking a Coke. He brought us plastics to fill our throats. Even the school play used plastic particles in place of snow, and it was beautiful. Santa took his synthetic beard off, and I prepared to become an adult in the church. For confirmation, I attended the Mass of the unborn children. But if heaven before life, why not joy for a soul to arrive back home with God? That's recycling. Men in long dresses talked about the host, the Holy Ghost, and the Virgin Mary. Women were Coke machines, and that was the perfect scheme. Body, coin-opping, new, disposable life.
Katie, that was so perfect. What a great reading. I really think that you just imbued those little short lines, descriptions with such pathos, such irony. I think that was really excellent. Thank you for that reading. So our next reader, she had signed up and then she couldn't be here today. So we're going to have our EIC read this piece, which is Geometries of Benediction by B.C. McCabe.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, and I really wish that we could hear her read it, but you can, of course, on the site, but it would be nice to have her live, but it's an honor to read this piece. Geometries of Benediction. Hidden, she, of cloven hoof, kicking fire, devours the fog-cloaked mountaintops, rustles burnished bronze dreams fallen, broken, ritual sacrifices offered on autumn's altar. Two young bucks lock antlers, fighting for dominance, while the world refracts like a crushed prism, kaleidoscopic and lost. Milk spilt on shattered glass, domestic shards. Skyscraper remorse desiccated in desert sun, your certainty trembles in thimble time. In situ tableau, a morgue of truth, what contempt, what grace, a form of recompense, a river spent. Softly, softly the soil indents over a grave. Starlings, a grackle, a rattle, a snake. Away we explore the geometries of benediction. Shimmering insects, my kin, burrow beneath my skin, growing roots in my veins. We trees, bent, dark, twisted, monstrous, adore us. Excess of sound, a song, a chorus of skeletons, bones of my innocence, my sepulchral youth. Breathing in orbit, the atmospheric wake, Empty of malice, of mercy, I taste sweet destruction, our holy, our God.
What a great and appropriately dramatic reading. Yeah, so this is one that I think it's good to sit with. There's just so much kind of being described, so many images. So I really like to sit with that one. So next we have Allison Lubar, and their poem is called Self-Portrait in a Type of Mirror.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much to Chestnut Review. What a dream pub, and such incredible company. Thank you. This is Self-Portrait in a Type of Mirror. We sketch each other, sit knee to knee. I am 6. My mother is still postpartum, another loss. I am once again an only child. I know faces are circles. A neck is a rectangle. Use the side of the pencil for thick hair. The point makes tiny wisps. Leave an oval, a white oval, in the pupil to imitate cartoons. Everything looks better in my head. On paper, she smiles, close-lipped, a little fallen comma at each corner. No wrinkles because I love her today. I know it's bad. I know she'll say it's great. She uses charcoal. I never realized she gave me eyelashes too. Now they're here forever. I am always this small and pretty to her, all in black and white, everything grayscale. Eyes are already rounded like teardrops. Her basement art room is chilly for spring, and I can bear only 10 minutes until I have to crawl into her lap. I am too young to know the heart has no easy shape. Thank you.
Lovely reading and lovely expresses of this memory, these portraits that are being unpacked. Yeah, that's such a great last line. I think we have this like kind of medical theme going on, right? I mean, I did not even notice that when putting the issue together, that there's so many kind of just medical things happening, like these conditions and like what that means emotionally, right, for the people who were affected, who were bereaved. I always like that type of thematic play. So next we have our chapbook author, Esperanza Centron. Her chapbook Boulders just came out, and so we have a link to an interview that I did with her, and then in the issue itself, there's 2 poems from her chap. So I hope that you will go and check out Boulders. It is just straight up fantastic, and people that know me have probably become tired of me like talking about it to everybody. So yeah, Esperanza, if you'll kind of take us away.
Unmute. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I have to agree with everybody. Working with you guys was really great. And I mean, yeah, Maria and James, I'm like, you guys are really nice. I'm not used to that in publishing. I'm like, so I'm really glad to be here because I feel welcomed. So thanks. I'm gonna read one from the book, and it's called Belle Isle, and the book is all about Detroit. And you know, Detroit, like many cities, we're undergoing a lot of change. And this is called Belle Isle, and I'll try to read it. It's kind of, okay, I'm a little nervous. Anyway, Aunt Myrna lost her cherry and her shoes on Belle Isle. And I hear she wasn't the only one, because it's a place for first and seconds and slow drives and circles along the shoreline with kids hanging out of car windows, shouting, licking ice cream cones, sands, seatbelts, while their parents blast the radio, or for casting a rod off a long wooden wharf trying to catch fish you probably shouldn't eat, or for games of cricket played by dark-skinned men dressed in white who laugh in island accents, or maybe a quick game of 9 holes on a shaggy course, or a wind-blown boathouse wedding with a long, silky bride like a Modigliani model drifting down a winding stream in a canoe followed by a duck squawking at its trail of ducklings while a hawk circles overhead. Or you could find somebody you like, and when it's dark, tuck your car into a forested lane and search for cherries or peaches or lost shoes while deer look on, nose pressed to foggy windows. I heard that the island used to be overrun by snakes, so hogs were brought over to get rid of them. But I'm sure they're all gone now, because it's been a few hundred years. That's it. That's it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Esperanza. So we have a video interview coming out, which I'm sorry because it got kind of stuck by Mexico. But I hope that you'll watch the full interview. There's plenty of hilarious and wonderful things. And of course, if you ever have a few extra dollars, you can go and buy Esperanza's chapbook. Yeah, so it's really good. I'm very biased, but I think that it's really good. James, back me up. So somebody help me, back me up on this. Yeah. All right. What's next? Right. So now we have oh my God, what's happening to my right. So we have this great flash that's called Common Flower Parts by Sharon Lynn. Sharon.
Hi, thanks to Nadia for help with the edits, and thank you, Maria. Okay. Common flower parts. Ying Yang told us secrets in the girls' bathroom, like how when we turned 10, our bodies bloomed. She proved it by plucking a petal from between her legs, a sliver of pink dotted red. That's the thing about blooming, she said. You bloom inside out. We felt between our legs for the edge of a flower, but felt only stumps. Ying Yang said that sometimes the flower was harder to find, like her mum's, which she could only find with a mirror pressed up to her bum. I asked her what kind of mirror, and she laughed at me. I went home to the bathroom with the mirror that stretches from the ceiling to the floor and pulled myself onto the toilet, facing the reflecting wall. Between my legs, I saw a bud and was suddenly afraid of thorns. Ma kept scissors in the cabinet for cutting dress tags and splinters, so I fetched them. I locked the door. I was afraid the flower might leak, so I covered the bathroom tiles in toilet paper, then sat and opened my legs. We learned about flowers in science class when Mrs. Jones showed us a chart of common flower parts. The ovary turns into a stigma, surrounded by petals. I got a 110 on the test because I remembered to separate the pistil from the stamens. But where did the flower turn into a stem? I pulled away from the flower, afraid again. When my sister was born, she was attached to a stem. I stood beside Ma, my head just over the hospital bed. The doctor withdrew himself, arms retreating from under the sheets. His wrists glistened, curled with strands of vines and thorns. But I didn't see vines inside me, nor thorns. I placed the scissors on the floor, then reached 2 fingers back towards the stamen, past the pistil, until I found the stem. I withdrew my hand. There were no petals between my fingers, but white nectar-coated seeds. When I placed them in my mouth, they tasted like mangosteens, strong and sweet. Thanks again, and congrats to all the other readers.
What a great reading, Sharon, and what a great piece. Got this mirror kind of vibe going on too. I really like this. Okay. Next up, we've got one of my personal writing friends and a fellow South Carolina poet, Yvette Marie. Yvette's going to be reading old photos.
Can you guys hear me? Hold on.
Yvette, I'm giving you a minute because you were echoing really hard. All right.
Oh.
You're still echoing. Yeah. Okay. Technical difficulties. So Yvette and I met at the Watering Hole in 2020, which is a space for poets of color. It's a South Carolina poetry organization, but they have a retreat every year for poets of color from all over, and it's really great. So she was supposed to be my roommate this year, but she couldn't attend. But I met a very lovely other roommate instead. So yeah. You okay, Yvette? How is it?
Can y'all hear me?
Oh yeah, now it's much better.
Okay, I can't hear y'all, but thank you so much for this opportunity. It was such a great experience working with you guys, and I'm happy to be here with all of you wonderful writers today. Oh, photos. For Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Jordan Davis, Eric Garner, Cynthia Graham Hurd, Reverend DePayne Middleton Doctor, Reverend Dr. Daniel Simmons Sr., Ethel Lee Lance, Reverend Sharonda Ann Coleman Singleton, Susie J. Jackson, Tawanza Sanders, Myra Thompson, Reverend Clemente C. Pinkney, Janiyah McKillen, Walter Scott, Donovan Lewis, Amir Locke, and I've added Tyree Nichols. A fresh death, no matter what I do. Chased up, then a cold Georgia shoot down. There will be no new photos of you. Men and bullets split our time in two, before and after you're running that town. A fresh death, no matter what I do. In good old Georgia, these cowardly two called you out of your name, followed you around. There will be no new photos of you. Again, stillness governs our view. One mother now wears a mourner's crown. A fresh death, no matter what I do. Ceremonies last long. Life's now a different hue. A still smile flashes in skin deep brown. There will be no new photos of you. There will be no new photos of you. Not your voice, not nary a sound. A fresh death, no matter what I do. There will be no new photos of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvette, for that reading. It was really wonderful. Yeah. So I think that our last reader for today is reading this piece that I also really love called Guai Guai, and that is Jennifer Love.
Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer. This is actually my first pub ever, so I'm super honored to be included. Thank you so much to Nadia and the whole team. I'm just going to read the beginning since it's a slightly longer prose piece. Guai Guai. On Sunday afternoons after church, Mama and Baba take us to 99 Ranch. They've been going to this Asian grocery store, I don't know, probably since they left Taiwan and came to the United States. Today, I don't want to go. My toes hurt from the new shoes Mama wanted me to wear for church. They look like doll shoes, white and round, with a Velcro strap across the foot. I wasn't sure how to feel about them, but when I put them on, Mama smiled in that proud the way she did when I won the Bible verse memorization contest and beat Irene, the star student in my Sunday school class. So I'm wearing them. They didn't hurt right away, but now my pinky toes are squished. I just want to go home, but Mama and Ali are only 2 steps away from the entrance and Baba is already telling Derek to grab a cart, so I don't say anything. The sliding doors open. Our shopping cart rattles over the metal threshold and a rainbow sea of fruits and vegetables greets us. My shoes squeak on the linoleum floor. The supermarket smells like dirt, like the bitter Chinese medicine that Mama makes us drink when we're sick, and like the beach. Mama and Baba join all the other Asian moms and dads to go look for whatever they look for. They leave me and my 2 brothers in the only area that we care about in the whole store, the snack aisle. For a moment, I forget about my shoes. Colorful packets of round, juicy gummies catch my eye. Kiwi, muscat, I think that means grape, lychee, peach, and apple flavors lined up in a row. A tall, skinny boy walks past me and reaches for a bag of shrimp chips on a high shelf. Further down the aisle, 2 girls hold a box of choco pies, mini chocolate-covered cakes with a creamy marshmallow filling. Across from them, a little boy about Ollie's height hugs a bag of milky white rabbit candies wrapped in rice paper. My mouth waters. I could spend a whole day in this aisle looking through each row. But there are so many other kids without their parents here, bad and noisy, getting in the way. They pick up bags and crumple them and put them back in the wrong places. Mama would yell at me if I did that. I'm getting annoyed because we don't have much time. Derek, Ollie, and I each get to put only 1 snack in the cart. That's always the rule. And we have to decide before Mama and Baba finish their shopping. Derek is annoyed too. He has that look on his face, the scary one that lets you know you shouldn't mess with him. Taller and older than the rest of us, he pushes his way through the crowd. Some glare at him but are too afraid to do anything else. I trail behind, excusing myself each time I squeeze past someone, the way Mama taught me. Ollie holds on to me, his sweaty little hand in mine. When we get to Derek, he's already made his choice, a Taiwanese corn puff snack in a lime green bag called guai guai. It's Chinese for be good or obedient. Mama said it to me this morning when I was putting on my shoes. Guai guai, listen to Mama. I think it's kind of funny that Derek got this because he listens to loud rap music with bad words and is getting a C in math. And it's definitely not guai. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. So yeah, I hope that you'll go and read the rest of this. I think just that, like, the desire to pay off, right? It's really, really strong. The characters, the situation in the Asian mart. So I don't know if you guys go to Asian markets, but the snack aisle is a trap. It's full of tasty things. So thank you so much. I think that's everybody who was going to read, but don't go away because we're going to transition into our discussion. And I know that sounds really scary, like this is some sort of lecture and you're going to be called on, but I promise it's not. So please, if you have, Esperanza here, I can link it again. I don't know if yeah. So we're just going to talk. So if something that you heard today inspired you, or if you want to ask some questions of us as Chestnut, please feel free. So I will kick us off by asking, I'm going to ask this question, and it's kind of like right, so we had the self-portrait in a type of mirror, which was inspired by, in Allison's artist statement, they say it's inspired by memories that they have with their mother. And Sharon, your flower parts piece is so evocative of this like little girl hearing these things about, okay, well, you can do this in a mirror. And so I was wondering if there was any basis for that story in something that happened to you in childhood, or like something that like, I don't know, you don't have to spill the beans if that's too, but, you know, because it's so realistic. And I find that in fiction, it's so hard to capture that sort of point of view, that voice from the point of view of a child. And I think that your piece and Jennifer's really just nailed that. Right, they kind of nailed what it's like to be a little girl. Like, I don't know what's going on in the world, just trying to be good. I'm obeying these people that told me different things, and I'm curious. Right, so can you speak a little bit about the genesis of that and the inspiration of Common Flower Parts?
It sounds like it's for me, not for Allison.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I guess one thing I can say is I have a very vivid memory from elementary school health class where I don't know if other people had this, but we had like girls and boys are separated for health class. And then at some point, I think the health teacher told us we should go home to our bathroom and then put up a mirror under our legs to look at like what's in between. And I don't know why, but that was just like a very vivid memory that I have. So that made it into the piece. And my parents' bathroom also has this mirror that goes from the ceiling to the floor, which that's just what bathrooms look like for me since I grew up with that.
That's great. I think I missed that health class because I was never told anything like that. But you know,
yeah, it was traumatic and also very educational.
Oh, that's straight up amazing.
I have a question. I love asking questions specifically of the poets because Maddie and I are reading all of the prose pieces and working on all of them. So when the issue comes out, it's kind of a surprise to us to see what gets published on the poetry side. And it is fascinating to see all these connections too between prose and poetry because we are not coordinating on that in any way. But my question is for Esperanza. Can you talk a little bit about the process of writing a chapbook? I think that's something a lot of writers and poets aspire to. And I'm curious if you had a vision from the beginning or if this like was years of work that you kind of put together later and saw a vision for.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a really good question because I kind of don't think of myself as like a poet. I think of myself as a wordsmith because I write prose as well as poetry. But I think it's like, it's what comes. And oddly, this particular book, it just came over like the last couple of years because Detroit is changing so. And also because I was sending out stuff and I live in, this is Michigan, right? And Detroit is like an aberration in Michigan. And I was sending out stuff and all the journals in Michigan were publishing all of this, you know, trees and autumn and changing of seasons. And I was like, well, we got nature, you know, here in Detroit. And so these poems just start coming out. And as this particular chapbook kind of like wrote itself. And I've got a lot of other stuff that just, you know how stuff comes and you put it aside and like, okay, I'm going to get to that. But, you know, as writers, we just sort of like, it comes. And then if it's something really good, you know, then maybe you'll work on it more. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, but really it was like, I just started sending this out and, you know, people seem to like it, which I was really pleased because, you know, we write and, you know, we hope. But yeah, I actually like this piece, this particular piece too. And I have to say, you know, Maria was so just supportive and I don't know, just giving. And so, you know, it made me feel good about it too. So yeah, but you know, the good thing, it's done. Yes. That's it, right?
I have a follow-up question for Esperanza. So would you say the project or So basically, I've heard a lot of poetry books are either like project books or compilations of poems that you've written over some period of time. So would you say your collection was more like one or the other, or maybe like a mix of both?
This particular thing just was all together because this, I don't know, it just all came. Like over the last couple of years, the poems just start coming. But I have other stuff that's compilations that takes place over years. And you know how you put it on a shelf? So I guess it's different for every piece. It's like sometimes you just moved by that particular whatever you're working on. And sometimes it's like grinding and it won't come out. And so, it depends. But this one was kind of light. And that's another thing. I don't normally write light. Do you know what I mean? I usually write heavy. So I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. That's really lovely.
Thanks. I have a little question, but it's sort of like not Chestnut, but you started it. I wanted to know, and maybe you can send me some information about that watering hole thing that you and Yvette are in or whatever, because it sounded really cool. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really cool space. They're upgrading their website. Their website is not very updated at the moment, but they did say at the retreat that they're working on it. They put out the kind of downside about it is it's usually at the end of December. So it's like right in between Christmas and New Year's, but they do a retreat every year and apps usually go out in the summer. Yeah, Yvette, do you want to speak to your experience with the watering hole and how it shaped you as a poet? I don't know. Is that a weird question?
It's an absolutely marvelous space to be in. And they bring world-class poets to teach us. I think we were talking earlier about how you put a book together, and they're part of what they do is a manuscript review, and there are only 6 people in there, I think, and we all read all of each other's manuscripts, and we talk a lot about how to put a manuscript together, how to put a chapbook together, and it's real meat. I think that's what I love about it the best. It's meat. It's not just fluffy, off the top of your head stuff. It's real meat, really good learning that will elevate you as a poet.
Does Chestnut have events like that?
Actually, we do. I am not involved with the next one, but we just had a retreat in Merida, and our next retreat is in North Wales. Has it filled, James? I think it's very close to filling now, isn't it?
Yes, very close. I think there's like maybe 1 or 2 rooms left.
Yeah, so we what did we do? It was 12 writers, 6 and 6. So we each had a group, and then we did some whole group activities. People got to workshop their work and do new writing, and of course, kind of soak in the cultural sites and the being in a new place. So I think it was really kind of restorative, especially after, like, kind of the first thing you do in the new year. A lot of people are looking to reevaluate their writing practice and their life, myself included, and kind of change things up a bit. So it came at a really good time, and it was, dare I say, successful. So we are actually, my boyfriend is working on putting out a video on, like, it's going to be like, look how great of a time we had. And we already booked the hotel for next year. It's a really cute space. It's not like it's just a really intimate space. So the only people staying there were us. And so we got to like sit by the pool and write and, have a couple drinks and just relax and listen to people read stuff. So it was a really good experience, like 300%. Yeah. Yes, so we do have online workshops that are taught by our poetry editor, A.R. Arthur, and by myself. Actually, we have a workshop today. So after our lunch party, I'll be doing our Stubborn Writers workshop. So every month you can bring poems or a piece of prose and get workshopped in Chestnut community. It's like a writing group for people who don't necessarily have a writing group. And on the last Sunday of the month from 10 to 2 Eastern, we do basically like a Pomodoro sprint writing session. And it's really productive, even for me. Like I sit there and we work on writing for 4 hours and we kind of cheer each other on. And yeah, so besides that, we do like themed or topical or genre-based workshops throughout the year. So we are working on expanding it. Our schedule for this kind of quarter will be up soon fully. But if you guys ever have any questions or if you'd like to try out a workshop, just send me an email and I'll see what I can do to get you in. Right. So yeah, it's a good question. Thanks, Yvette.
This issue is absolutely beautiful, if I might add. It is gorgeous.
Yeah, I hope that you all will have a chance to check out the artwork. I know that none of our visual artists could be here today, but both the artwork and the other pieces that were not read today are also really amazing. Palomita Azul, I think that really plays into these themes about like pregnancy and like women's bodies. And Tuesday May Never Come, right? That's another great exploration of grief and right, more through the lens of aging than through a different lens. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of other really, really, really awesome stuff. So I hope that you'll be able to kind of check it out. Yeah. So I have a question for the prose editors because I'm not really involved with the process of selecting pieces. So what were you thinking about when you accepted these pieces? And can you talk a little bit to the process of that?
Maddie and I are just looking at each other like that's all you. No, we read so many pieces in a given quarter. We have issues every 3 months. So in a given year, we're publishing 20 prose pieces, which is nothing. We read so many amazing pieces. And when we come down to our shortlist, we're really looking for pieces that are saying something we haven't heard before or saying it in a new way. We love pieces that like really hold our attention. And beyond that, we're then going into a balance of fiction and nonfiction, a balance of flash and prose, and how all of these pieces work together. So we definitely didn't know that the poetry side also had a lot in that health kind of space, chronic pain, women's bodies, but those themes came up on the prose side very much as well. And we want our pieces to work together. We want each one to stand on its own, of course, but there's something really beautiful that happens when you're reading the issue and you're seeing these bigger themes come out. So I wouldn't say that there's one thing we're looking for, but we are weighing all of these different pieces to try to put together something that feels cohesive and hopefully really meaningful. Nadia, I'm going to throw it to you so you can add something wise to that.
As soon as I feel like someone's going to ask me something, my hands start sweating. I'm like, not good at thinking on my toes. I mean, you summed that up really well. We have lots of, like, we choose a short list each quarter. We have a very large team of readers. We have, like, everyone's commenting on all the pieces. We have a meeting every quarter. We actually just had our summer issue meeting right before this launch, where we talk about all the pieces, and that's kind of when, at least on the prose side, everything, like we start looking for links between pieces and how things might work well together or might not work well together. Yeah, but we're mostly just, as Brooke said, looking for pieces that hold our engagement and say something that feels fresh and is just really just a pleasure to read when it comes down to it.
I guess I'm going to ask a question that I think is relevant. So Yvette, I think we all enjoyed your poem. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, because it was just so heartbreaking. And I feel like the structure of that really played into this idea, right? Because the refrain, "there will be no new photos of you," was just so heartbreaking, because every time you kind of expanded the context and then it kind of looped back to that line. So can you talk a little bit about how that poem came into being and whether it had that form from the start, or has it gone through different iterations as you explore the best way to frame this really serious and unfortunately very sad subject?
Well, unfortunately, at the time that the concept came up, what's going on in this country, the murders, the killing, all of that was like front page. And I just noticed how they always use old pictures on funeral programs. They always use old pictures. Like the picture of Ahmaud Arbery looked like his high school graduation. And if I'm not mistaken, he's in his mid-20s. And there would be, even just locally, if you think about it, somebody will be 85 years old and they'll use a picture from, when they were 30. And it just occurred to me that they always use these old photos, but now there's not going to be any more new photos because you're gone, you were taken. And some of the people in the middle, the names might not be familiar, but those people are what we call the Charleston 9. Here in Charleston, they were the 9 people that were shot in Mother Emanuel Church. And that, to me, always needs to be remembered, what happened, how it happened. And it always had this form. It always did. I believe that form serves function, and so the repeating of it over and over of the lines, just showed how these types of things just kept happening in our country and keep happening in our country. And so I thought that would be the perfect form to use for that reason, to just show, here we go again. And it's happening again and again and again. And so, yeah, I had a lot of fun with the rhyme, spent a lot of time on thesource.com because, the rhyme is really specific. But yeah, it always started in that form.
Yeah, I think that's a great case where the content sort of asked for the form, right? So it's good to hear you say that, because I do, right, it's very cyclical. So I think that that's something that I would just snap to. Yeah, thank you for illuminating the process. And yeah. All right, I'm going to put out our last call for questions. I don't want to stress you guys, like I'm going to sit here and think about something, but seriously, nothing, don't be shy. If there's something you're burning deep down inside to ask, go ahead and ask. It's totally fair, judgment-free zone.
I'd love to hear from Natalie about the generation of this like incredible piece that I'm immediately going to read the second half of.
I guess I always start with setting. So anything I write, so I write short stories, flash, longer form, and I always start with place. And if there's a place where there's something like quirky or something that grabs my attention, and this is 100% fiction, but I will say this story was inspired by me for the first time during the pandemic, moving to the suburbs, and finding myself in this house that came with this koi pond, and I was like, who the fuck installs a koi pond? That this is so much hard work. They're just they're pointless. They do nothing. They're game for prey and predators, and we had seen a bunch of raccoons just kind of scoping them out, and I just thought that it just sort of brought up these ideas about motherhood, and I don't know, I felt like this weird maternal instinct towards these koi, and trying to protect them and trying to keep them alive, and that's kind of that was the spark of the story. So yeah, always setting, and then kind of an image, and then two disparate images that come together and form something weird and wonderful.
I guess hopping off of that, I have another question about Fish Mother. At least in the excerpt, I'm also going to finish reading the rest of the story after this. But in the excerpt that you read, I felt like the conversation between the nurse, I think, and the main character was very realistic. So I was curious if you had like a strategy for doing dialogue, or maybe you've had some encounters in healthcare.
Well, I moved to the US 5 years ago, and the healthcare system here is quite different from the NHS in England, and so yeah, certainly that was a shock for me, and so I guess I took some of those experiences where it's like in England it's all very polite, and you do not get undressed or anything for your checkups, and it's to me it felt very invasive and unusual, and I'm still working out how to live here every day as an English woman, adapting to living in America, and that the healthcare, I mean, I could go off on that for a long time, so maybe I won't right now, but yeah, and then in terms of dialogue, I mean, this story is quite different from what I tend otherwise write. So I write very kind of voice driven psychological suspense. So for me, dialogue just is very kind of voice driven, and just being authentic and just thinking through in my head how conversations would happen, and then just putting that exactly on paper. And for me, it was kind of an experiment to not use dialogue tags, and I'm not sure if it worked or not. I usually use dialogue tags, and I don't know if it helped or hindered the story at all. But yeah, that's just trying to be authentic and thinking in my head as I hear the speech, and just kind of letting it out, and that's it really, nothing more than that.
Very cool, thanks.
Thank you.
I think keenly observing and writing things down, that can really, I don't know, it's so hard to capture that, right? Because I feel like, David's piece was another piece where dialogue and character interaction just felt so real to me. That's exactly, okay, this awkward, I met this woman, she looks like, just all of that was so laden in the dialogue. It was just so heavily laced with that without it being obvious, right? And I think it's really hard to master dialogue that is realistic and kind of portrays that situation, but doesn't doesn't veer into like, oh, I'm just explaining things to the audience, or, oh, this is just really awkward. No one would ever say this. So yeah, it's really, this is really amazing to see. I don't want to push you, Sophia, because I know you didn't sign up to read today, but do you mind talking a bit about your piece? Because I absolutely love your story. If it's okay with you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. I only didn't sign up because I wasn't sure I could be here, but I would have been, otherwise would have read. Yeah, so happy to.
Would you like to read from Palomita Azul? Because it's such a beautiful, beautiful story. I think another one that's like just an earworm.
Oh, I'm happy. Yeah, if there's time,
Yeah.
if there's time, if
Yeah.
people would like to, I'd be happy to, sure. How much should I read though? Because it's kind of a long piece.
I don't know. Can the pros numbers help me out? I mean, I think just a teaser. Is it sectioned? I feel like I remember it was in sections. I could be making that up because yeah, I think you could read the first section right to the section break. If you no pressure, but
I mean,
yeah.
if I would be absolutely happy to, sure, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for your great reading. So I'm really happy to be here, and thanks Maria for calling me out. Okay. The man who put the baby in me tried to get me to end the pregnancy. Even though this was against the rules, he could make it possible. It was a mistake, I pleaded. You were stupid, he said. When I refused, he cut off all contact. Those are not the rules, he said this time. It was as though the year we spent as lovers had never happened. At first, I did not leave my small one-bedroom apartment in Cambridge to avoid having my pregnancy detected. My job as a researcher didn't require me to go to the office, and I'd be able to hide my condition from my coworkers by being careful that the camera only showed me from the shoulders up during virtual meetings. I thought if I had the baby at home without anyone knowing, I could take it with me somewhere else, anyplace else. Then I started to make plans to leave. But the man had reported my pregnancy to the system. Medical care was arranged for me, and I was visited regularly by a nurse. She was about my age, quiet, with pale skin and hair the color of straw. The nurse locked a bracelet to my wrist and gave me a packet of information that I put aside without reading. When I asked if there was any way I would be allowed to keep the baby, she said nothing and pointed to the packet. What will happen to him, I said. He will be cared for, she said, and went back to saying nothing. After she left, I flipped through the packet. More rules, including information about the birth quota established by the leader after the last sickness, which wiped out nearly half the population. Only whites who could offer proof of their pure ancestry had no limits to the number of children they could have. Genetic tests had exposed the ones like me who passed among the whites with my blue eyes and light brown hair. Ultimately, my cells betrayed the true nature of my ancestry. I was categorized accordingly. Making a baby with a man who was white was forbidden for me, for him, for us. I felt the first flutters, then the kicks, then the foot lodged under my ribs, then the hiccups. I talked to the baby. I knew it was a boy, and I named him Diego for my father. At night, I would look at the sky and tell him the names of all the stars I knew, which wasn't that many. When the Perseids came, I went out on the roof to see them, and while I watched, I sang a lullaby to him. Palomita Blanca, Palomita Azul. I sang to him every night. Exercise was good for the baby, the nurse said, so they allowed me daily walks in my neighborhood. My walk took me down a street where there was a park on one side and an empty lot on the other. One day I paused by the lot to watch the monarch butterflies on the milkweed that was growing there. The construction plan for this space would bulldoze all of this, the milkweed, the monarchs, everything. I nodded at a woman walking by. She was a bit older than me. Her skin a light brown, a curl escaped from her hat. You're having a baby, she said. It was not a question. I realized for the first time that others could see my growing belly. Yes, I said, I'm having a boy. As I stood there, a monarch landed on my shoulder, orange and black, delicate legs and antenna. They have blessed you, the woman whispered. Who did, I said. They have blessed you, she whispered again. They have blessed him. She pointed to the sky. I realized she meant the ancestors. It was forbidden to speak of them. More rules. After that, I started to smile at people I passed on my walk, though they were all strangers to me. I'm having a baby boy, I would say, even though no one asked. I can't wait to meet him, I would say, even though I knew I never would. I would sing the lullaby. Llévame en tus alas a ver a Jesús. One day I took the bus down Mass Ave to the man's house to try to see him. I wanted to ask him to change his mind about registering the baby in the system. I planned to tell him that I would raise the baby and we would not see him again. After I got off the bus, I walked down the man's street. I stood outside the blue house I was no longer welcome in. I had only ever been there at night when no one would see me. It was even more beautiful than I realized, with tall windows and elegant arches around the front porch. The front yard was a perfectly green lawn. The shrubs were tamed. There was no milkweed, no monarchs, no blessings. A delivery van pulled up in front. The driver got a large box out of the back and wheeled it toward the house. As I walked up, I saw from the box that it was a crib. He rang the doorbell, and a woman who did not appear to be pregnant opened the door to let him in. She had red hair. This is how I learned the man had married and was expecting a child. Sorry. When my labor started, it triggered the alarm on the bracelet. The ambulance came, 2 medics and a police officer. They made me walk down the street and climb onto the gurney that was waiting in the lobby. My hand was cuffed to the gurney. They took me to Mass General. I was asleep when the baby was delivered. When I woke, it was the next day. There was a bandage across my belly where they had taken the baby out. They would have also taken precautions to ensure that this never happened again. I had read that in the packet. There was a blue mark inked on the inside of my left wrist that would not come off when I scrubbed it with soap. At the hospital, they wouldn't let me see the baby. I wept most of that day and most of that night. They gave me a sedative so that I wouldn't upset the other patient in my shared room. As my thoughts started to flutter, I heard soft weeping from the other side of the curtain. I began to sing the lullaby I had sung to the baby, the one my mother had sung to me when I was a little girl. Palomita blanca, palomita azul. The morning of the 3rd day after my baby was born, it was sunny outside. I got up to dress in the clothes that I'd come to the hospital with. I looked up just as the man and his wife walked by the door. Drawn by my motion in the room, the man's wife looked in through the door for a moment. She was carrying a newborn in her arms. The nurse would not answer my question about the man or my baby. I wanted to know if he had taken my child. A home has been provided, was all the nurse would say before she called security to restrain me from running after the man and his wife and my child. I was given pills to take home with me. They softened the grief, which felt like a ledge. My belly was still swollen, but I was alone in my own body for the first time in months. A few days after the birth, the nurse came to examine me. She said my stomach would return to flatness, my milk would dry up. She did not suggest that I might have another child someday. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sophia. This story it just guts me every single time I read it, think about it. And I want you all to know that we as editors, these pieces kind of live inside of us and they haunt us. So yeah, I hope that you guys will go off and read the rest of this amazing story. Yeah, so that was a great ending. I wanted to ask you about your process in writing this, and I'm really glad that you were able to read it to us. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Great. I think that unless anybody has anything else, I can let you go for the day, off into the world for this Saturday. But thank you so much for sharing the space. Yeah.
Actually, one question.
Yeah.
For Sophia. Is that sci-fi?
Is it sci-fi? No, it's sort of dystopian future, but not exactly sci-fi, but yeah, sort of dystopian. Yeah, for sure.
I think it sits on that line of this could be a future It's just a very gentle sci-fi branch, because it could really be a future that, yeah. Good. So I want to thank our editor-in-chief and our prose editors who are here today, and AR, who could not be with us today, and our associate editor Praise, and some of our great readers. Some of them had to dip out, but thank you so much for coming, for supporting Chestnut, and for doing the work to make the magic happen, right? Yeah, it was really, it's really an honor for us as much as it is for you. So don't just thank us, thank yourselves, thank each other. This is just an awesome issue, right? So keep in touch. We put out calls for readers. We definitely need contributors to come and read for us. Sometimes we do events. So you know, there's definitely ways to stay involved, and there's I think a 2-year waiting period, but after 2 years, we would love to see your work again, and maybe a chapbook from some of you in our next reading period. Right. Thank you so much for today. Take care.